So I'm Corey Johnson. I've been with the program since its inception, probably since 2009. My background is counseling. So anything that has to do with assessing certain students and supporting parents' understanding about the concepts that we're trying to impart to students, as well as to creating different types of dynamics in the home. That's what we're doing here.
So, Mr. Johnson, what have you found to be the advantages of working with students age ranges 9 to 13 in this program?
One of the advantages is there is still a level of flexibility in thinking. They haven't fully formed who they are yet. And so there's a space that we can use to impart in them different aspects about responsibility, about self-esteem, self-image, accountability, anger management strategies that they aren't cemented in, this is the only way. There's a book called Mindset that we utilize as well, in which we talk about growth mindset and fixed mindset. A growth mindset is that I can continue to learn. There isn't anything that's put in front of me that I can't learn, I can't master. So when we give them several different pro-social skills, it isn't something that they can say, that's not what I do. I'm too old for that. We can keep them in a growth mindset in that they can continue to develop an understanding. And several of the students from 9 to 13, they're here every single year. There's a book that I read every day. It's called the Bible. In the Bible, you can actually read it over and over again and get something new every single time. What we're seeing is that there's a maturing of our students as they progress from 9 to 13. That isn't something that we would have been able to observe if it was a one-off. They come one year and then they never come back. We've had several students, and every single year they get a little bit more mature. The concepts are a little bit more nuanced. Their ability to observe and to provide examples to their peers makes it a really interesting and hope-filled experience for both parents, students, and staff.
So what do you find to be the advantages of having parents be an active part of this program?
It's crucial. Without parents, there is no sustainability. There's no generalizing any of the things from this program to the community, from the community into the schools, and hopefully beyond. Before, when we just work with students know what we expect of them and they perform. But it's when they go home and there's a very different dynamic in the house that these concepts can clash. So bringing parents in, showing them everything that we're doing, having conversations, but more than that, it's also building relationships with them. Our staff have great relationships with the parents of our students, and as a result, we get information about how things are going at home. We can support parents in shaping some of how they do things a little bit differently so that it is healthy for all involved. I just finished a conversation with a young lady who they want to make sure that she's doing better with managing emotion. We've talked to the mom. She's given us strategies about how to work with her daughter. I've talked to the daughter about strategies about how to work with her mom. And when we have parent night, we have these open conversations with all parents so they can see that there's a continuum of how successful parenting can be when we utilize the skills that we're imparting to them. But there's also just the community that we build and that they're not alone. So if there's something going on with a student, other people can validate. I've been going through the same thing with my son, my daughter. And there's this sense of, okay, so it's not just me. There's a level of freedom, liberation from not feeling guilt-filled because I'm just not getting it right. Anybody who's been a parent understands there's no manual for this. Having parent involvement means that we can also support them in their journey as well.
Corey, our years of working together, you've coined a phrase about an agency becoming global. What is your vision that you see for Back to Basics moving forward?
So what I don't know if people understand the behind the scenes things when it comes to a program like this. intentionally having conversations about what does this student need? What does this parent need? What does this couple need? So that there's an ability to not just get through the summer, but how do we ensure that what we're doing in this program actually translates into the classroom? Are we impacting students staying in school, limiting tardiness, limiting suspensions or any negative behaviors because they've learned to know what's right and to do it? My vision for this program is that it is available to more students, that we can have these similar programs all over the state of Iowa for communities such as this. Why is that important? When we know that there is a community of people who are supporting each other, we say many hands make light work. I think it's Frederick Douglass who said it is easier to raise healthy children than to fix a broken adult. That's not the actual quote. But if we're saying we want to make sure these kids, before they get into a fixed mindset of school doesn't matter, adulting doesn't matter, responsibility doesn't matter, if I can catch them when they're still pliable, it's far easier for me to impart and encourage those things, to model and to reward positive behaviors that we know pay dividends when they're adults, when they're 18, 20, 30, 40 years old, when they've gone from being just a free will kid to I'm now coupled with a person that I've intentionally chosen to be my partner in life, and that we're growing kids with these same values and morals. That's powerful. We can do that. But it's something that we say in another system that I'm in, we can do a lot, but we can't do it alone. So what does that look like? It looks like sponsorship. It looks like the community showing up and showing out in terms of providing mentorship, making sure that there are dollars that are behind our actions. It looks like making sure that if you have a skill set, a business, an opportunity to pour into these children, then you knock on this door, 1001 Knoll Street, and say, Mike, I have some things that I think these children would really benefit from. It is about building a relationship, not just one time, but over an entire summer and possibly over an entire lifetime. We keep talking about how do we fix these kids. We're not fixing kids. We're making sure that the gifts and talents that they were gifted with, we continue to grow them in ways that we know will be beneficial, not just for them, not just for their family, but for this community at large.